Now we're good to go. Yes, Anna? Good to go? All right, Anna, now I can't share my screen. All right, y'all, this is Tech Gremlins. Listen, you can run a 7-figure business. You can have 10 employees, 11, however many we have, and still Zoom's going to try to get you. Okay. We're getting there. So I'll just tell you what we're going to do. First of all, make sure you have ideal pen or paper, or you've got your computer, but there's going to be one question I'm going to want you to write down an answer to. It's going to be really important. So be prepared for that. Get ready. Okay. Here we go. So welcome to the 5-minute method sneak peek. This is something new. We're trying this. We are going to be sharing a little sneak peek and a little actionable, important piece of a bigger training that will be happening inside the Clutch later this month. I think for this month, it's actually happening on Monday. And so I'm going to teach you something small that you can use and think about today. But I'm also going to share with you what you will learn in that training. If you're a Clutch member already and you're on this, then that training is free for you and you are going to be able to access it. And if you're not in the Clutch yet, and this feels like what you need, this training, then I want to invite you to join the Clutch. And I'll tell you how to do that after I do this sort of sneak peek. So we're going to do kind of a mini training, mini chat about the Clutch. It's going to be in and out, efficient, but you're going to learn something useful, whether or not you decide to join us. So if you are new around here, my name is Cara Lowenthal. I am a feminist coach. I am the host of the Unfuck Your Brain podcast. I am the creator of The Clutch, which is my monthly feminist coaching program, which I'm going to tell you about a little bit later. And I am the author of Take Back Your Brain, which is coming out next May. And pre-orders are already open. You can get it on Amazon or anywhere else. You'll be hearing more about that if you're in my world later this year. Okay, so we're going to talk about something called the 5-minute method. This is actually a method created by one of my advanced certification in feminist coaching students, and actually my first employee I ever had, Elena McKernan. She's also a master certified coach through the Life Coach School. She's going to be teaching an in-depth training on this in the Clutch later this month, I think on Monday. So if you are interested in this, you want to join now on this training so you get access to it. But it's all about how to reach goals in a different way. When our brain thinks about a big goal, it thinks in huge action steps, right? It thinks about the big picture, and it assumes that we have to do these big, big things to get to a big goal. And I think this is kind of a natural time of year to be thinking about goals, because I don't know if it's just because I went to graduate school, also like I went to law school, so I was just in school for so long, but September always brings that feeling for me. I think it's the Jewish New Year, so it's a time that I reflect on goals and where I'm going and what's happened in the past year. And I actually love that I get this like kind of third quarter check-in before the last few months of the year. I feel like that actually kind of gives me a leg up from people who are only thinking about their goals in January and they think the year's kind of ending. And I'm like, no, there's so much time left this year. What are my goals for the rest of this year? What are my goals for next year? Right? If you start planning your goals for next year in like December, it's like already too late a lot of the time. So I love this like September as a time to think about, where am I trying to go? So this might be an immediate goal you have. I want you to pick a goal. Think about it, because I'm going to ask you an important question in a few minutes that I'm going to want you to really think about the answer to. It could be a long-term goal. It could be an immediate goal. It might be like, this is what I want to get done by the end of the year. It could be like, this is my goal for 2024. Goals you have on the back burner, maybe, that you've been like, I've always wanted to do this and I never have. For me right now, really focused on selling my book. Pre-orders for the book are super important. That's how you can get considered for bestseller lists. That's how you can get national media, that's how you convince the publisher to print enough books. Pre-orders are the name of the game. So I'm really thinking about like, what can I do in the next 4 months, next 3.5 months to set myself up amazingly for my pre-order campaign. So the question then is, what are goals made of, right? We think about goals as singular, this sort of big thing that we're trying to get to. We sort of think of it as like a unique, discrete thing. But your goals, achieving them, is actually made up of habits that you don't have yet. It's like a really important distinction, but it's kind of hard to get your brain around because we think of habits as being like these daily things we do that just happen every day, but don't add up to something big. And then we think of a big goal as this like giant goal, this one-off thing, this big impressive achievement, whatever it is. And it's sort of this unique thing that stands on its own. But actually achieving your goals is just made up of habits that you don't have yet. The habits that you have to build are how you get to that goal. If I want to sell 20,000 books in pre-order, right, to make sure that we print enough and to get the book to where I want it to be, what are the daily and weekly habits that I have to have around thinking about, talking about, writing about, offering my book? Right? It's not just one big thing. It's a daily or weekly incremental thing I need to be working on. And I need to get in the habit of always thinking about it, always working on it in different ways. We tend to think that habits happen in action, that a habit is a thing you do, and that if you want to create a big goal, you take the action. If you want to have a habit, you need to take action. That's true. There is action involved in a habit. There's action involved in creating a goal. You do have to do some things, but it doesn't just start at the action. It actually starts farther back in your mind. Your actions, the way that you act, the habits that you have, especially your repetitive actions that lead to bigger kind of compounded results, come from your identity. And your identity is your thoughts about yourself. Right? So if we put that all together, what it means is your thoughts about yourself, the kind of person that you think you are, is what creates the habits, the habitual actions you need to take to create an incredible goal or result. I have to be the person, I have to believe that I am the kind of person who sells 20,000 books in pre-order. Who is that person? What are her daily, weekly habits? What does she do? That's what will drive me to be able to create that result. I have to identify as somebody who can do that in order to create the habits that will produce the result for me. So to create a new habit, to achieve a goal, you need to create a new habit of action. Okay. And that means you need to create a new identity. Doesn't mean your whole identity has to go. I'm not forgetting who I am, right? I'm not changing most of the things about myself, but I do need to create this new identity, this new set of beliefs about myself as an author who pre-sells 20,000 books. That is the identity I need to have in order to create the habits that will create that action for me. So how do you create a new identity? So this is the big question I want you to answer. This is the blank. I want you to fill in this blank. This outcome would be inevitable if I were a person who ... So for me with the books, this outcome would be inevitable if I were a person who worked on selling my book and making offers every single day. Then it would be inevitable. If I worked on selling my book every single day between now and May, it's inevitable that I would hit that goal. Now, your goal might be completely different. Maybe you want to, somebody outside my window painting the building and just caught me unawares. So maybe your goal is that you want to stop yelling at your kids. You want to get through a whole holiday season without yelling at your kids if you want to make a concrete goal. How would you fill in this blank? This outcome would be inevitable if I were a person who was always calm, no matter how my kids were acting. If I was a person who knew how to regulate my nervous system, whatever was happening, right? If your goal is to, let's say, eat 3 more vegetables a day, this outcome would be inevitable if I were a person who loved eating vegetables, right? Right now, if you're this person, I like vegetables. If you're this, there's no shame in it if you don't. I didn't used to. If you're this person, right now, your belief is, I don't really like vegetables. So of course you're not eating them, right? You've identified as someone who doesn't really like them. If your belief was, I love vegetables, I'm a person who loves vegetables, I'm a person who's always excited about the vegetable options on the menu, then of course I'd be eating 3 a day. It would be easy, right? So you have to fill in that blank. This outcome would be inevitable if I were a person who blank. This is the key to creating a new identity. This tells you who you need to become so that you can much more easily create those habits that are those actions that produce the result. If you don't shift, if you don't do this identity piece, then you are trying to act against your current identity. Then you're a person who doesn't like vegetables, trying to force yourself to eat vegetables. Then I would be a person who doesn't work on her book and doesn't believe she can sell it, trying to make myself sell it and hit this big goal. It's so much more effort and so much harder for you and so much less likely to create the result. So you have to create that new identity. Now, how do you become that person? How do you actually create that new identity? How do you build those new habits? That is what Elena is going to be teaching in the 5-minute method. So to change your identity and hit your goals, you have to break it down into really small action habits, right? You have to come up with that belief, that identity of who you want to believe, and then you have to create it and build it with these small actions, these small habits. So you have to zoom out to that big picture of what's my identity, who is the identity of the person I need to become, and then you need to zoom back in and break down, what does that person do? What are their habits? What is the little thing I can do every day that helps me become that person? So the 5-minute method teaches you how to take that identity you wrote down that you need to create and build it with small actions every single day. And this is the training that Elena is doing inside the Clutch this month only. So this is exclusive to people inside the Clutch. If you are in the Clutch right now, then great. You are already signed up for this and ready to go. And if you are not, then this is an opportunity, if this is something you want to do, if this resonates with you, to come join us in the Clutch so that you can take part in this training and participate in it. Elena is going to walk you through how to create and shift that identity, how to create new habits that build towards your goal in literally 5 minutes a day. Right? If you are new to me, the Clutch is my monthly feminist coaching program. And our big ambitious goal inside the Clutch is teaching women how to live lives that they won't regret when they die. And that sounds really serious, and it is serious. It is also weird and hilarious and fun, because being a human with a human brain is all those things. But it's about helping women take their own lives seriously, not dying with all of these goals that you wanted to do that you never did, all of these things that seem too big, all these people that you wanted to be that you never became, right? It's not getting to the end of your life and looking back and seeing that. It's really getting there knowing I became the person I wanted to be. I created the outcomes in the life that I wanted. It is very easy to get caught up in the day-to-day. This happens to me too. And not really stop to think about what are you doing here on earth? What kind of life do you want to live, right? So hopefully you guys all can hear me. They're literally hammering outside my window right now. Don't delay your life, right? Don't put it on hold. When you put those big goals on hold, it feels overwhelming. So you go back to not thinking about it. I have totally had that experience. I want to change something about my life. I want to create a new result. I want to change a habit. It feels overwhelming. So I just don't think about it. But that is where the 5-minute method comes in. There's another option to thinking about who you want to be and then feeling overwhelmed and then delaying it or giving up. The other option is learning the 5-minute method exclusively inside the Clutch. So let me tell you a little bit about the Clutch so you know what is available and how it can help you. And then we'll have a couple of minutes I can answer questions. The Clutch is a coaching program that I created that combines feminist philosophy with professional self-help coaching frameworks. Helps you hit your short-term, long-term, and impossible goals. Any goal you've got. Oops, sorry. Inside the Clutch, we coach you every day, every week, every month, as much or as little as you want until you hit all your dreams and your goals, no matter how big or how small. To me, there is no difference between I want to eat more vegetables and I want to sell $20,000 copies of my book and become a bestseller. either one of those has been a goal that I've had at some point and has changed my life. So it's not about the size of the goal. It's just about knowing and being a person who can create the identity and the results in the life that you want, whatever that looks like for you. And that may change at different periods of your life. In the first 30 days in the clutch, if you join today and you get access to the 5-minute method training, you're going to learn how to take one concrete action on one goal in just 5 minutes a day until you hit your first big goal. And when you do that, it's going to blow your fucking mind. That happened to me. It's happened to so many women inside the clutch. And then you're excited to do it all over again for the next one. Inside the clutch, we will coach and support you on whatever comes up for you, right? Asking, your goal might be a new title at work. It might be having a conversation with your partner you've been putting off. You need to become the kind of person who has hard conversations with their partner. You need to become the new identity as the kind of person who asks for a title and a promotion at work with ease. Getting back into dating, being someone who enjoys dating and does it fruitfully. Creating that art you keep avoiding. You might need to create that identity of being an artist who creates and practices their craft. Starting that business you secretly want. The identity of becoming an entrepreneur. That was a huge one for me. Whatever your goal is. And if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm not even sure what kind of life I want or what's possible for me. That's because society has disconnected you from yourself. We will help you tune back in and figure it out. So if that's you, that's okay. I promise you do have goals and dreams and a life that you want, even if you feel really kind of caught up in the day to day and like you're treading water and don't have time to think about it or don't know what you want to think about. Learning how to take little bits of time to create little bits of traction, even on smaller goals, is what will help you figure that out. You can use the clutch for support in hitting your big goals, but also you can get support for any problem that comes up in your life. A family member says something hurtful, your partner doesn't understand you, you're struggling with what's going on in the world, right? A coworker's talking shit about you and you don't know how to respond. Like all the other small annoyances, big challenges, pivotal moments, we have to manage our mind about all of it. We have to learn how to think on purpose. And that is what we help you with. When you join the clutch, you get live coaching calls every month. There are coaching calls with me. There are coaching calls with our clutch coaches, and we have coaching calls for Black, Indigenous, and other people of color in the community only. We have an on-demand anonymous question form we call Ask the Coaches, where you can ask a question, get a coaching response literally anytime, whenever you have something that you want help with. And you can ask anonymously so that you have whatever privacy you feel like you need to really get help with what's really going on with you. And you are always answered by a trained coach who I've trained, who's been through my feminist coaching certification, who really knows how to help women with the problems that they have in their lives and with the problems that their brains create. We have specialized courses on how to help you hit your goals and transform your relationships, your money mindset, your career, your body image, really anything that you struggle with. We also have a private library of almost 100 exclusive Q&A episodes with me. And we have call recordings from past calls. So there's so much coaching already there that you can draw from, and you can get your own specific coaching. If you really want to fast track it, we also have opportunities for one-to-one coaching with a clutch coach once you get inside. And we have an optional, totally optional Facebook group for just peer support. All the coaching and teaching is happening in our beautiful membership site, which is a separate website where you log in. We're on these Zoom calls that we do, kind of like this one, but with coaching, live coaching happening. But if you like peer discussion, we have an optional Facebook group with other women in the program. All of this is just $97 a month. So here's the link to join. And I want to remind you, Anna's going to drop it in the chat. I want to remind you that as a limited bonus, we're offering access to this 5-minute method training that Master Coach Elena McKernan is going to teach. And she's going to really cover like how perfectionism keeps you from hitting your goals, how to hit any goal, even a big one, in 5 minutes a day with that practice of figuring out the identity of the person you need to be, and then building the habits that person has, which makes your success natural and inevitable at your goal. And practical strategies to get you excited and working on your dreams again, right? So the best reason to join is to take your life and your potential seriously and create something amazing with them. Big, small, artistic, professional, like what, familial, whatever it is, to just be a real participant with an intentional life that you're proud of. That is really what I want for every woman. And that is what we teach you how to do inside the Clutch. You might have a goal in mind, but every time you start working on it, you fall off. Maybe you don't set big goals because you're scared to fail. You aren't even sure what goal to set. No matter where you are in that spectrum, the 5-minute method is going to help you and change your life. When you join right now, you're going to get instant access to the Feminist Mindset Fix, which is the first course we do. Everybody does when they join the Clutch. You get instant access to the lessons there that teach you how to start working on changing your thoughts, including those identity thoughts we talked about, instant ability to get written or live coaching on any issue, and that 5-minute method training live. And of course, if you sign up now and you can't attend live on Monday, you will get the replay. But if you sign up afterwards, you don't get access to it. So it's for people who are in the Clutch as of the training on Monday. So if you join now, you get access to it. All right. Here's the link again, which again, Anna has put in the chat, and we have a couple more minutes. So I'm going to answer some questions. Let me go over some of our usual questions. Let me grab them from where they are. Okay. So one of the questions that we often get is how much time you need to work on stuff in the Clutch. And the answer to that is, it's really up to you. Of course, on this training, I'm going to say what I always say, but which is even more appropriate here, which is 5 minutes a day is enough if that's what you've got. When you join, we actually send you some information about, like, if you have 5 minutes a day, here's what we recommend you do. If you have 10 minutes a day, here's what we recommend you do. It's really built so that people with different learning styles, different availabilities, different, amounts of time to focus on it can get what they need out of it. So it is very flexible, and there's no such thing as like doing it all or doing it right, because it's built to be available for people of different different priorities, different learning styles. So you're not supposed to do everything, and you can't do it all. You're just supposed to do what fits into your life. Okay, somebody asked, how is the Clutch different from the podcast? This is a great question. So the Clutch is just so much deeper than the podcast can go, right? In the Clutch, you're able to dive into whatever topic you want to work on, and it's much more directive, right? So you have actual lessons on each topic. You have workbooks and exercises for you to practice, and you have interactive coaching, which of course we can't offer on the podcast. You can get coached and ask the coaches anytime, and you can apply for live coaching on the live coaching calls. So it's interactive, it's more in depth, and it's streamlined and organized. I have been doing that podcast for 5 years. There's a lot of great stuff in that podcast. I share a lot of my work on purpose. I want it to be accessible, and it's 5 years worth of episodes. It is not organized and streamlined and made concise and updated the way that all the content in the Clutch is. So in the Clutch, you're getting like the cream of the crop, right? The best of what I teach, with teachings that aren't on the podcast, that don't fit into that format, with the exercises. So you've got literally a workbook to do that we can't provide on the podcast, with interactive coaching, which is impossible to provide on the podcast. So it's like the difference between kind of reading a book on your own or like taking a college course and getting feedback and interaction and learning that way. Somebody asked, are coaching calls available as audio only or podcast afterwards? Yes. So they're available in 2 ways. The replays are always in our membership site, which when you join, you get, a username and a password, you log in, all of your materials are there. So there's always replays there that are posted, a day or 2 after the calls, depending on the schedule. And then we also offer a private podcast link you can use, and then you can get the audio only of the coaching calls the way you'd get any other podcast. So you can like listen to them on a walk while you're driving. However, we have this private podcast link you get. All right, let's see. Other questions. Somebody asked, we have a question about kind of therapy. Somebody says that like, I have a therapist, and does coaching go with therapy? And like, is there any conflict there? So the answer to that is no. Coaching and therapy are amazing, sort of accompaniments to each other. I just did a podcast recording today with the Shrink Chicks, which are two therapists who run an amazing podcast. We're talking all about this. So a lot of people in the coach have therapists. A lot of people that coach are therapists, or are coaches and therapists. And I've had people come to the Clutch because their therapist send them to the podcast or to the Clutch. Have people talk to their therapists about podcast episodes and use it in their work, or bring like what they're working on in the Clutch to therapy, or vice versa. So they're really complementary. Lots of people in the Clutch don't have therapists, obviously, also either, went to therapy and felt like they did that and they want something different, something more active, something more proactive, something where they have more like control over the process and have more ways to proactively change things. Or some people just were never into therapy. So they can really work together beautifully. Someone asked, we have some questions about who can join. Can any age join? Any adult can join, right? So we have people from, 18 to like 80 in the group, quite honestly. And that is, I think, such a beautiful thing. It's amazing to see some people start this so much earlier than I ever did. And it's amazing to see women who are in their 70s or 80s and are like, fuck it, whatever life I have left, I want to be amazing. I want to live this part of my life on purpose. It's never, ever too late, which is such a, I think, beautiful message and so true. Someone said, if I live internationally, can I join from anywhere in the world? Yes, you can join from anywhere. With the coaching and everything is done in English, but you can join from anywhere. We have members all over the world. We have members in Europe. We have members in Africa. We have members in New Zealand. We have members everywhere. And then if you are somebody who likes pure support and conversation, the Facebook group is nice because there's usually people awake somewhere in the world who are there, but you can join from anywhere. We try to have the live calls be at times that people in different time zones can make. But of course, there's also always the replays and the Ask the Coaches, which is where you can submit a question and get an answer from a coach, get written coaching. You can submit that from anywhere. So that's not time sensitive or dependent at all. Somebody says the Clutch suitable for those of us who don't identify as women, who are non-binary. Yes, absolutely. My work, I always talk about as people who are women or were socialized as women. So, some people call it assigned female at birth, but to me, I'm really talking about how society kind of reads you and what social messages are directed at you, or you just pick up because of either who you are or who society's telling you are, even if that's not right or feels off. And we try to be careful about our language and inclusive in the Clutch. We have when you join the Facebook group, there's some information about how to interact with it, and even down to this, the things to the kind of how we title our posts, not writing a post that says, hey, ladies in the group, because not everybody's a lady in the group. Not everybody is a woman or identifies as a woman. So it's really available and open to anyone who is a woman or was socialized as a woman. So if the work sounds like it's resonating because you experience the socialization, then it's open for you. Somebody said, is there a minimum required or recommended amount of months to truly benefit from the program? There really isn't. I mean, I recommend, of course, you give it, 3 months minimum. Some people come in and get what they want or need in a month, and that's great. Especially if you're new to this, it takes some time to learn these new habits, but it really depends on what you're trying to create and what how you're able to focus on it. I think there are people who come in and they're really busy and they have a lot going on, and they really only have once a week they can spend 20 minutes or half an hour on it on the weekends. And so maybe they stay longer because they're doing it at that pace. And then there are people who come in and they are like, this is like what I'm doing. I've had people come in who are like, they're on a sabbatical, they're on a mental health leave from work or whatever. And they're like, this is what I'm doing. This is like my new school. And maybe they move through things a little faster. The way that it works is that after your first month, where you've learned how to coach yourself and how to use the basic tools, you can unlock an additional course each month. So it also depends on how many issues you want to work on. The place that I see people, I would say that people who leave after they've been in for a year tend to kind of post in the group as they're leaving, like, I've really transformed my whole life. Here are all the areas. but not everybody's looking for that. And that's okay too. And there's no financial, you can cancel anytime. It's month to month in terms of your commitment, unless you sign up for an annual membership. When you join, there's just the option to join by the month. But after you join, you'll see an offer. If you want to go all in and make that commitment, then you get a couple of months free. All right, we're perfectly at time. It is 1:30. Thanks for coming to this speed round training and sharing about the clutch. I'm glad that we all survived. Literally, there was like pieces of the building falling down outside the window. And if you want to know how I can do a live call, teach, answer questions, not be like bothered by that, not be frazzled, not be distracted, not freak out. That, my friends, is learning how to create a new identity and new thoughts. And that is what we teach inside the clutch. All right, my friends, I'll see you there. I'm excited to share so much with those of you who learn the 5-minute method and really get to work on those goals that will change your life.